Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Or every time I want to just mail it in on the Atlanta Braves, they do something to suck me back in. And last night was exactly that with AJ Smith-Shawver. And I don't know if you've seen the TikTok that I recently posted. Go check it out at Sports Talk ATL. All of our stuff is at Sports Talk ATL on our social media platforms. But I think it's the biggest positive development the Braves have had so far this season. Obviously, Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna, we got updates on them, but it just seems like they just keep getting delayed. There's been like nothing like, hey, it's game time. Now, when that happens, we can say that. But in terms of everything, like nothing has really gone great out of the ordinary outside of like a Nick Allen playing well or an Eli White. AJ Smith-Shawver tosses 8 innings of one hit ball, nearly has a no-hitter, which I swear I'll never see in my life. But more importantly, if this guy can take that step, if he can be this year's Spencer Schwellenbach, and I think Spencer Schwellenbach will be back. I think Chris Sale will be back. I love what I've seen out of Grant Holmes. Spencer Strider eventually will make his way back. If AJ Smith-Shawver can establish himself as a above average major league starter for the rest of the season, all of a sudden this rotation doesn't look half bad. So I think that's the biggest positive development. And obviously it's just a few starts. We can't go ahead and proclaim he's the next Schwellenbach yet, but it's developing into that kind of thing.
Schwellenbach is 2 or 3 years older than AJ Smith.
22 years old.
And people are still, it's one of the craziest cases of prospect fatigue I've ever seen, where this guy rocketed through the farm system and then inevitably stumbled, because it is very rare, in fact, almost impossible to just come up to Major League Baseball and not mess up. I mean, you said it's a game of failure. I mean, you fail in this game time and time again. If you can't deal with it, you'll never find sustained success. So when he did inevitably fail, people just and failed over and over. And it wasn't even over and over and over again. He didn't. When you go and look at how many games he's really pitched, he hasn't pitched all that many games in the major leagues. And people just, for whatever reason, whether it was because Spencer Schwellenbach was sexy or the fact that people just forgot he was just 22 years old, whatever it was, people were just ready to write him off. And this was a very, very, very encouraging sign for all those detractors who may have written him off, even, getting sent back down just this season. So it's just a weird case. And it is, you'd be hard pressed to bring up another individual or circumstance that's a more positive development for the overall outlook of the Atlanta Braves club, but most importantly this year.
We're looking for, we talked about it yesterday, how there's not really anybody in this rotation right now who you can go out there and be like, all right, I trust this guy. Now, we do believe in Chris Sale and Spencer Schwellenbach to eventually figure it out and be those guys, and hopefully Spencer Strider can join him when he's healthy. But the Braves rotation still needs more. And then the depth concerns, which another guy's going to go down this season. Hopefully it's not anything significant, but whether it's just a little fatigue or a blister, those kind of things are bound to happen at some point this season. And frankly, I don't really feel that comfortable relying on Bryce Elder, even though he's been better of late. I would much rather have AJ Smith-Shawver out there shoving every single 5 days. And he gives you a legitimate, him and Grant Holmes, the back end of the rotation. If those guys can be how they pitched, you got something exciting there, because I feel confident in the other 3 guys figuring it out. And I feel confident in the offense when Ronald Acuna Jr. really taking it to the next level. And the bullpen, as bad as it is, and how I have no confidence in it being something that the Braves can lean on, can be easily fixed. Can be easily fixed at the trade deadline. So I just think my number one concern with this team right now is the long-term standing of the rotation and the depth. And I think if AJ Smith-Shawver can really be a guy, that alleviates a ton of those concerns.
Yeah, it's just about evolution. I did something on the site today. Go check it out, SportsTalkATL.com. That this is not the final form of the Atlanta Braves. And we began this season broken, where a lot of teams, I'd say a majority, 75% of teams, pretty much start the year fully healthy, fully ready to go. And the Braves started off in pieces, and we're slowly putting the puzzle together over this first month, and it's going to continue over the next few months, and then even past the trade deadline, where guys like Mike Harris and Ozzie Albies are sucking. Nobody expects them to suck for the entirety of the season, and we're welcoming back the 2 best players on the team. And then we're going to have guys at the trade deadline that join us. AJ Smith-Shawver, Grant Holmes, figuring it out. Maybe a piece or 2 emerges from the bullpen that we don't quite see just yet. this is going to be an evolution of the Braves season where this is not the final form. Obviously, the playoffs 50-50 in terms of, if you look at, fan graphs and all that stuff right now, we have to get there. But I feel confident that, like, as long as we don't lose anybody significant over the course of the next 4 or 5 months, that this club is going to be a force to be reckoned with when October rolls around.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think if this team can stay healthy, there's no doubt that they can still do a lot of great things, and the trade deadline will present more opportunities to improve. A side note here, just on something totally different, talking about the bullpen. Where the hell is Craig Kimbrell? I'm just like, I'm kind of confused at what exactly they're doing, because obviously he's been ramped up and ready to go as far as you need as a reliever for almost 2 weeks now. And I did say that his spot on this roster wasn't necessarily guaranteed, but he's gone out there and he pitched pretty damn well in Gwinnett, pitched absolutely lights out, didn't even give up a hit in Double-A. The Braves obviously need more high leverage relievers, more experienced relievers. I just kind of don't know exactly why they're waiting so long to do this, because Craig Kimbrell, well, while he's wasn't great last year for the Orioles, I brought this up. Like, if you go look at his numbers pre-All-Star break, like, he was an all-star closer, and he was an all-star in 2023. So he might not have the stamina now at 37 years old to go out there and give you 70 appearances like he once was. But there are 35, 40 game stretches where he can be a damn good reliever. And that's really what the Braves are hoping. Maybe they're just thinking, hey, let's not force those things. Let's save those 35, 40 things.
Saying. Like the administration part of the whole deal, where maybe that one guy that they're watching and they're giving, 10 more outings, giving him an opportunity to either be DFA'd or whatever it might be, just stringing it along, like, we're going to give you more opportunity, whether whoever it is in the bullpen who is struggling. And, maybe that's it. Like you said, maybe they know, hey, this guy's got, well, even then, I mean, he's wasting, fuel and tread in AAA.
Yeah, no, I know that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I honestly keep waiting, and I think it's going to happen like right before a series. And I honestly just had in my gut before this Red series began, they were just going to announce it, and it was going to be like, oh, Craig Kimbrell's back and we're all going to celebrate. Hey, some positive developments. But it hasn't happened yet. I am interested to see when that happens. And I do have relatively like high expectations that he can provide something for this bullpen that has struggled more often than not this season. And if he can add something, then you need one less guy at the trade deadline in terms of relievers. I think they need 2 guys. If Craig Kimbrell can be one of those guys, you only need one more. Coming up after the break, we're going to stick with the Braves. Jurickson Profar, does he have a spot on this team with Alex Verdugo and Eli White playing like they are? Of all the things that have negatively impacted the Atlanta Braves this season, undoubtedly the biggest one was the Jurickson Profar PED suspension for about a month there. After he was suspended, the Braves had the worst outfield in all of baseball. Now, Michael Harris was a big part of that and not providing anything offensively, but Jared Kelenic and Brian De La Cruz are no longer even with the organization. But in their place, Eli White and Alex Verdugo have been godsends. I mean, Verdugo, he's everything that the Braves needed from a clubhouse perspective, from an energy perspective, that Jock Peterson-like vibes, that I don't give an F, that I'm going to go up here, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to play for my next contract. He's playing like with his hair on fire, and he's come up with big hit after big hit, and he's the perfect guy, a 300 hitter, high 280s hitter, which he's been over his entire career, so don't expect that to fall too drastically off a cliff. Right at the top of this lineup in front of the big bats that are going to bring those guys in. I don't see a reason, Alex, that Jurickson Profar, who cheated the organization, actively cheated the game of baseball, robbed the organization, screwed the organization over, and is ineligible for the postseason, is going to get many opportunities when he returns, as long as Alex Verdugo is playing like this. And if Eli White continues to play like this, who has been outstanding, I don't see any reason. I mean, that should be the left field platoon, because you cannot sit here, knowing that you're in the playoffs, you're not going to have this guy. And even if it's Alex Verdugo, you can't just rest him against every left-handed pitcher, because he's going to have to face lefties in the playoffs, right? Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, you haven't seen a lefty in 60 days, but here you go in the biggest moment in October. Like, you need to sing those at bats, even if it's just him. So I know the Braves need to make the postseason, that will take precedence.
That's the only thing that will force Jurickson Profar into an everyday role is if the Braves are scrounging. I mean, clawing for one of those wild card spots. That is literally the only reason I would see Jurickson Profar being an everyday player. And Eli White, hey, who's to say that, 30-year-old Jurickson Profar, first great season. Eli White, 30 years old, first great season so far. Alex Verdugo, I don't think anybody has to worry about him potentially. Obviously, the worry with Eli White is he is going to, regression is going to smack him in the face. But even if the bat regresses a bit, he is so good defensively and on the base pass that it still warrants it to a certain degree to be over Profar if we're still in good standing in terms of the playoffs.
Well, and I've also expressed my concerns about what Jurickson Profar is going to be. I mean, listen.
This is all assuming that he's going to come back, like you said, and be something.
Yeah, like before he was a nothing. He had one decent year outside of the career year that he had last season, which he was apparently cheating for. So let's just assume he regresses and then add on top of that the fact that he hasn't played baseball in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, not many guys can just hop off their couch, not go hit balls against live pitching in games in front of 40,000 people and all of a sudden be stars. I mean, how many injured Braves came back from time off and didn't look like themselves for several months? Hell, Sean Murphy didn't look like himself for an entire year. And then you see what happens when he comes back more healthy with some time to get in a groove after spring training and stuff like that. So there are a lot of concerns that Jurickson Profar will even be a productive piece when he comes back. And then you add into that, you got two guys that are playing really well that if you make the postseason are going to have to play in the postseason because he's ineligible. I wouldn't be shocked if they basically view Jurickson Profar as a everyday, like an occasional spot start. Maybe if you really need him against a left-handed pitcher, you put him in there. And then they reevaluate this thing in the offseason because I'm telling you, these cheating things, I know the Braves didn't come out and publicly shame him, but he screwed over the organization. And beyond that, you don't get looked at right when you cheat the game because every single person in that clubhouse has had the opportunity at some point to cheat the games themselves and better themselves financially and put them in a better standing with the league. And all of them said no. So you don't get looked at the same when you go out there and do that and steal $42 million from an organization. I don't think this is going to just be like, oh, Jurickson Profar is back. Hey, welcome back. All flowers and rainbow. Jurickson Profar is back. Go start in left field, especially with those guys playing the way they are.
Yeah, I think that's the outside perspective. Inside perspective, I'm going to push back. I think there will be one guy leading the charge to kind of just pat Profar on the back and kind of be a friend. And that's Marcell Ozuna because he's had not a similar, obviously the cases are very different, but he had his own trials and tribulations with the Atlanta Braves. And he's been there and he has come out on the other side, beloved and the best hitter over the last 2 years for the Atlanta Braves. And all you heard during that time before that was Snicker going, we see how hard he's working. We see this, we see that. And I think, if you do want to push back, Ozuna will be the one leading the fight to kind of be like, come on, we can do this. We need you, whether it's just to get into the postseason or whether it's the next 2 years after that. On a funny note, how funny would it be? We talked about it. If they were just like, the outfield's good. Eli White, 30-year-old breakout star, just like Profar. Verdugo, he's not leaving either. Ronald's back. Mike is not going to leave center field. I saw some ridiculous stuff on a post I had on Facebook, like, oh, Michael Hare, give me a break. But send him down to Columbus. Maybe get that shortstop glove back out.
Or tell him to hook up Nick Allen with his PED, his PED supplies.
Nick Allen got a little pop, he would be one of the best short basemen.
He comes out of the All-Star break like 225 pounds. Like, whoa, Nick, what the hell were you on? Oh, nothing.
Beans and weenies.
Yeah. I just been eating good, the entire time. I had to eat light when I was in the minor leagues and I wasn't making this money. Now
I was on the road, the buses, that bad food. But now that I'm in Atlanta, Truist,
getting a little food around here. I'm a workout freak. Yeah. That would be the biggest contribution, I believe, Jurickson Profar. I do think there is something to be said. I mean, listen, Jurickson Profar, as much as I do think people will look down upon you severely in this game for cheating, even your own teammates, I do think Jurickson Profar was extremely well liked at all of his stops, and obviously Latin American born, Curacao born with Ozzy Albies. they had a relationship prior to this. A lot of the other Braves had a relationship prior to this. I don't think it kills all of that, but I do think it's a long,
He's
tough
got
road.
something to prove when he comes back. There's
And-
no doubt about that. But I don't want this to just be lost in translation that, yeah, we don't know what he's going to be. You have, serious doubts. I have doubts. But there's still a lot of money tied up into this fully guaranteed contract. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about the Braves, at least in 2026, trying it out again. 2025, up for debate.
Yeah, I agree to somewhat of a degree, I guess.
I mean, they're just not going to eat all of that.
Yeah, they're not going to eat all of that. I would be shocked if they didn't try to explore the trade market for someone to eat some of that salary. No one's going to willingly take on the remaining, whatever, $30 million, $28 million that's going to be left on it after this year. But if the Braves are willing to take on a bat, trade them for a reliever. I mean, hell, we need a couple of those, right? An overpriced reliever that maybe not they don't want to pay for. They need an out for. There could be a trade out there that makes some sense, especially if Verdugo turns out to be this godsend. I mean, if
just literally take that money.
If Verdugo is, Verdugo's the next, Jock Peterson for this franchise, and they go on and do great things in the playoffs because he's kind of that catalyst. I mean, you're going to have a lot of people up here like me saying, bring that guy back. I don't need to. You figure something out with Jurickson Profar. I want Alex Verdugo in left field. And hell, it could be Eli White too, man. I am so intrigued by the Eli White thing because he has no major league experience. He actually has pretty good minor league numbers. He's crushed every spring training, and he just looks like a pretty solid hitter up there. Like he goes the other way. He has power. Like he has elite defense. He's got plus base running.
I don't know.
I just don't know how this guy has never gotten a legitimate opportunity at the major league level until he's 30 years old. Now, I don't think he's going to hit 300 with a 900 OPS, but with his speed and defense,
Eli White,
with his speed and defense, he doesn't need to do that. If he has a 740 OPS and he's playing elite defense and on the bases, he should be damn near an everyday outfielder for somebody, whether it's the Braves or somebody else.
My daddy said, if it's too good to be true, probably is. Well, Dad, maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this is Eli White.
Yeah.
Breakout star, 30 years old. We got Kenny Powers up there too. Jurickson Profar broke out at 30 years old.
I mean, listen,
too.
Baseball's a weird sport. Yes, I don't know. There's so many different scenarios where this stuff happens, whether it's pitchers, hitters, yada, yada, yada. I mean, just look at Charlie Morton's career. He was kind of an average pitcher, and then he turns into a Hall of Famer in the second half of his career. So it's a weird game, and wouldn't shock me if Eli White, whether it's with the Braves or someone else, is now a major leaguer after this season for the rest of his career. Alex, I got to ask you a question. Is the NBA all the way back? Now, I don't think they'll ever fix the regular season. Too many teams make the playoffs. Not enough people care about 82 games. But I will tell you what, the first round, especially in the Western Conference, was unbelievable. Even if Ja Morant didn't get injured, that could have been a hell of a series versus the number 168 win Thunder. The Eastern Conference had several series that were entertaining. And even though it's not as strong as the Western Conference, you can see teams like the Pistons, maybe the Hawks in the futures coming up and really being, serious contenders in the playoffs. It feels like for the first time in my lifetime, this is the most even by far we've seen across the board. No clear super teams. You have a lot of good young teams. You have former champions. You have hard-nosed teams. There's just so many young stars in this league, and the moves that they've made with the salary cap to prevent these teams that are so much better than everyone else seem to have really evened the playing field. And we're getting great basketball every single night of the playoffs. I don't know who's going to win all of these series. There's obviously clear favorites, and even though they lost game ones, I still believe in those teams. But if you told me any of them lost those series, I'd believe you.
Yeah, let's start with the Celtics and Knicks last night. Everybody's watching. Celtics are up by 20. I mean, after that first half, I was like, oh yeah, this is over. I was counting my chickens. I was already getting ready to bet the next game, and they even extend it. Midway through the third quarter, it's a 20-point lead. It was 16 at half or 15 at half. And it looked like it was exactly how everybody thought it was going to go, which is just the Celtics, who weren't playing well really at all. I mean, that first half, I don't know exactly what the shooting numbers were, but they were maybe 6 of 22 or something like that in the first half. And Jason Tatum had made 3 or 4 of those threes. I mean, they were shooting horrifically. And to be quite honest, I thought the Knicks offensively were still getting good quality shots that just some of them weren't going in. And then they go on a run. So I have never seen a team that is so good like the Celtics give up such a large lead so quickly. I mean, before a blink of an eye, they were already in the red or in the green in terms of covering. And then a moment later, it was 2 points. And then they were tied. And then they were up. And I just think, you got to give credit to Tom Thibodeau. You got to give credit to, I think, Karl-Anthony Towns. He heard the noise, specifically from me. He sees he's got an advantage, especially size-wise, and he goes in and forces the issue. And that's all anybody was ever asking him to do. It's not like anybody questioned the talent. People would just question, the will or the desire or just going and doing it. And on the flip side of that, good Lord Almighty, if I see Jason Tatum take a jab step back three, one more time this series, instead of getting to the basket or at least taking a mid-range jumper, I'm going to throw myself off of a building. I mean, it hit, you said it hit a couple times, a few times in the first quarter, first half, but like at a certain point, I mean, they missed a record amount of 3-pointers and then they kept doing it as if they didn't have in some areas a size advantage. Like Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson was on him, who sucks on defense, and he was still just taking awful shots.
I mean, I'm not too worried about Jason Tatum, guys. A superstar.
I mean, he wasn't great in the playoffs last year when they won a championship.
Yeah, but he will be. And this is gonna like Jason Tatum. The reason why the Celtics are gonna win this series is because Jason Tatum is the best player on the floor, and he had a cold shooting night last night after starting out hot. And sometimes he does settle. You see that with superstars all the time. But when push comes to shove, when they get in these tight situations later in the series, I expect him to come up and perform. I am worried a little bit about the Celtics supporting cast. Jaylen Brown had a tough series, didn't necessarily have a tough series, but he's dealing with a lot of injuries, a lot of injuries. Drew Holiday coming back from injury, and they've got a lot of guys, but Kristaps Porzingis is kind of doesn't, a lot of nights just doesn't even exist. Like you don't even know he's there. He's just this big body that's 7'3" that can shoot threes, who hasn't really been shooting the ball well. They have a lot of guys, and I do expect them to pick up the pieces, but the Knicks have a lot of guys too. That's one thing. Like, you can judge Karl-Anthony Towns' toughness or will, and I admit he's the most frustrating, talented player in the league, because he'll go out and score 30 one night and you're like, yeah, we all knew you could do it. Well, why don't you just take 25 shots every night? We know you're that good. And then the next night he'll come back and take 7 shots. And you're like, why did you take 7 shots? You are the most talented player on this floor, not named Jason Tatum. And really, you're right there with Jason Tatum when you decide you want to be. It really is frustrating to watch. So hopefully he stays aggressive. But they've got a lot of pieces. I mean, OG is an absolute stud. Michael Bridges is a stud. Jalen Brunson is an absolute stone cold killer. You can't say a bad word about that guy, especially in these big games. They don't really have a lot of depth. But Thibodeau has been playing those guys 45 minutes. And I don't know if they'll run out of gas. They might run out of gas. That's always been an issue with Thibodeau's team. Or maybe it'll give them the kind of cardio that they need to make it through this playoff run. I don't know what it's going to be. But that starting 5 is a legitimate starting 5. They just don't ever play their bench.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are sitting here and saying everything that we just said. But I also think that there is literally no possible way the Celtics shoot that poorly again. And on that note, I would not be surprised if the talent just separates itself, because while all the things you just said are true, the Celtics, though banged up, are still wickedly more talented than the Knicks. And
they're definitely deeper.
Generally speaking, we say in baseball, over a 7-game series, the cream will rise to the top. We might look up here and it'll be 3-1. I would not be shocked one bit if we looked up Celtics still, they split at home, and then the Celtics go back to Madison Square Garden, where courtside tickets cost more than a house. I can't eat out here. People are spending $100,000 on courtside tickets.
Hey, it
makes me sick.
It's a star show. How about Spike Lee being at the Met Gala outside and not watching the game against the yeah, fake. That's fake. That's how you know you're a fraud. I never want to hear it. Spike Lee super fan. There's a 0% chance my team has a chance to go up against a rival in game 1, and I have the kind of money to sit courtside, and I'm going to be at the Met Gala. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Spike Lee.
He's a director first, sports fan
fraudulent.
Second.
He's going to show up to the next 4 games. They're going to lose them all.
Yep.
He's going to lose them all. Stick at the Met Gala, and maybe the Knicks finally win a series. We're going to talk more NBA playoffs coming up after the break. The first game of last night, we got the Knicks coming all the way back to beat the Celtics, who are heavy favorites, and equally as big favorites are OKC over Denver. And I didn't give them much of a chance to win this series. But now, after they go and take game one, specifically coming back from 12-point down in the final few minutes, you got to give them a chance. And the reason you give them a chance, and I'll start off with this. I mean, Nikola Jokic is if he can lead Denver and this core of players that they have, which is nothing outstanding. I mean, like Jamal Murray's a great player, Aaron Gordon's a solid player, but like this team should not be winning NBA championships. And Nikola Jokic, if he can carry them to another one or two, we got to start talking about him, one of the best players in the history of the game and possibly the best center in the history of the game. I mean, this guy goes out there, doesn't it feel like he's having the best game ever? Like he's shooting under 50%, which he almost never does. He's got like 30 points and 20 rebounds. And you're like, well, he's not even really playing that well. And then he closes out with 42 and 22 and 7. And you're like, those kind of numbers against a 68 win team on the road are just so stupidly absurd. And the fact that we just kind of say, well, it's like we just overlook it. Like, but this is insanity. I mean, this guy is insanity. He should be.
He is literally Jackie Moon from Semi-Pro.
I think he's the best. This 5-year stretch, outside of maybe when Jordan won all of his titles, because he did also win the titles, is up there with basically any other 5-year stretch in the game of basketball. He legitimately should have won.
He doesn't even have close to a Hall of Famer on his team.
He should have won 5 MVPs in a row. If we were being legitimate about,
he should win it this year.
Yeah,
literally. I mean, and Joel Embiid, everybody knows that was just a gimme political award.
They did do that to LeBron too, and I'm sure they did it to Jordan. They did it to Kobe. Like they do it to everybody, but. I'm just saying, in terms of 5-year stretches,
Jokic is already one of the greatest players of all
time. Top 15 all time.
Whatever happens this year or this series and going forward, he's already. It doesn't matter. And he is, I'm saying it jokingly, but not really. This guy is Jackie Moon from Semi-Pro, where he is basically, he owns the Nuggets. He is the best player. And now he is the head coach. This is unprecedented what they are doing. They fire their head coach right before the playoffs. And I mean, obviously the Clippers series was a much closer series, but nobody in their right mind gave them a chance in this series. And they just won that. I think they believe I think Jokic always believed in himself, but the other guys around him probably now believe that, hey, we could shock the world. We could upset this Thunder team. And if you're the Thunder team, you got to start looking at yourself and you go, who is going to be that guy for us? And obviously you look to SGA, Shea, the MVP probable of the league. And you just look around and they have no experience, none. Nobody on that team has any experience in this area of the season whatsoever. And I'm not going to say that it's going to hamper them, because I could see something just like I said in the Celtics and Knicks happening, where it ends in game 5 still somehow. But I think that the Nuggets have a much better chance of potentially pushing this deep to a game 6 or a game 7 than the Knicks do against the Celtics.
Yeah, I don't really, I know they played Jokic decently there for 3 quarters, but I don't see, they don't have the kind of size that Zubac offered to really stop Jokic over 4 quarters. Like, he is going to wear whoever they throw at him down, and they don't have, like they just don't have the right answer. Like, Jokic is going to have a field day in this series. Like, if OKC is going to win this series, they're going to have to stop all of the other pieces from making an impact, and they're going to have to score like they're capable of scoring, because they have shooters and scorers and everything that you could possibly want on that roster. I still think OKC is going to win this series, and I don't think it's going to go to 7 games. I really like OKC in this series. I know this is a blip on the radar, a brain fart. They should have won this game. And credit to Jokic, and credit to my dog Russell Westbrook. I mean, maybe the best story that's going on out there, just the contributions that he's doing now in the starting lineup for this team and making an impact in so many different ways, whether it's steals, deflections, hustle plays, scoring, three-point shooting, 3-point shooting. The guy's shooting over 40% from 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
Who would have ever thought that would be said about Russell Westbrook? And he's a lovable face. I like what the Nuggets are doing. I think Jokic just needs to be praised. We're never going to see a guy like him in a long, long time. I mean, he is something that I haven't seen in my life. Just the way he's the best passer, the best rebound, the best shooter, the most efficient shooter in the entire league. I mean, it's just absolutely stupid. And I hope it goes 6 or 7 games and we just get this vintage Nikola Jokic, 40 points a game, 22 rebounds a game and 8 assists a game, and he pushes this thing to 7 games because that's no business going 7 games. But who can stop that man? Nobody on the Thunder, I can tell you that.
Get this man a real star player. I mean, Jamal Murray, 30-point game against the Clippers in Game 6 aside. Give me a break. That guy is just he is such a good player, it hurts. Like, he is nowhere near. You want to talk about, the 5-year stretch or whatever. Jordan had 3 Hall of Famers. Jokic doesn't even have close to half of one. I mean, it's somebody needs to get this man some help. And obviously, they need a coach. I mean, they don't even have they got an intern.
Give Nikola Jokic Jalen Brunson, and they'd be a problem.
Yeah.
They'd be an absolute problem. I mean, give him Trae Young, too, while you're at it. I mean,
well, no, give us Jokic.
Yeah.
Come down here, big boy.
You got interest in Zachary Ricochet?
Yeah, Jalen Johnson?
Yeah, well, give us Nikola. We got more playoffs to talk about after the break. We got some huge news yesterday in the series that wasn't taking place in the Eastern Conference, and that's that Evan Mobley. They don't know if he's going to be able to go in Game 2. DeAndre Hunter, both of those guys could potentially miss the rest of the series. I mean, just some huge news. You already have Darius Garland dealing with a toe injury, and all of a sudden this deep, outstanding Cavs team that we were so high on based on how they played the Heat is down in a 1-0 hole and missing potentially 3 of their 6 most important players. And even if they are playing, aren't going to be 100%. You got any worries now for the Cavs entering Game 2 with all of this?
They're still deep. Even I mean, Evan Mobley is a much bigger loss than DeAndre Hunter. No disrespect to Dre, but I still just believe in the Cavaliers. They are still deep. I mean, they're 10 deep, fully healthy. They are 10 deep. So now they're 8 deep. That's generally what most playoff teams are. The Knicks are 6 deep, barely 6.5, 7 deep. So, I'm not worried about them per se in terms of winning the series. I think now you're going to have to press. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is going to have to put the team on his back. You're going to have some unlikely heroes, and you're going to have to, lean on that defense, which was so elite all season long, because this Pacers team can score. And it's not like one guy scoring 40 like Jokic. I mean, you've got 6 guys scoring 10, 3 scoring 20 plus. I mean, they share the rock, they share the wealth, and it's not going to be an easy one. But, that first game, I mean, just unbelievable stuff from both sides. There was a moment where Donovan Mitchell was missing a couple of them, but there was also moments where he put the entire city of Cleveland on his back, and he was doing it himself. Whenever he decided to put his head down and get to the basket, I mean, he was getting, at will. And that's what's going to have to happen, because this Pacers team defensively is a lottery picking team. It's just because their offense is so damn good that they, they're in this position. If you're Cleveland, I mean, the recipe feels pretty, similar to what it was for those stretches where just get to the basket.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope Mobley can play. If Mobley can play, I'm not worried about the Cavs at all. I think, defensive player of the year, what he offers defensively against a team like Indiana, who is very good offensively, I think is a big thing. I mentioned the Pacers after this, and you counted them out. But yeah. I do think that the Cavs, even with these injuries, they still got Donovan Mitchell, and they're just not going to shoot as poorly. They shot so bad. I mean, this is one of the best shooting teams in the NBA, and it's the same thing that I think about the Celtics. Like, they are not going to shoot. These are 2 of the best.
What do you mean you're not shooting? They're not going to miss the most threes in NBA history again?
There's no way. Like, that's what it's going to take for them to lose these games at home. And obviously, they now have to win one on the road, but I fully expect them to be able to go into, whether it be the Garden or whether it be Indiana, and go out there and win a game at home.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
on the road.
If the Celtics, Thunder, and Cavs all covered these Game 2s. Let me ask you a question, pivoting. Who do you think is least likely to win this series in terms of
So
who is most likely to pull off the upset?
I think it's the Knicks. I think the Knicks.
Most likely?
Yeah, I think the Celtics.
Maybe not as good as I thought.
Yeah, I think Kristaps has really lost a lot of the suave and stuff that had last year, what really kind of put them over the top. I think Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday battling injuries is obviously huge. I think there's a lot more on Jason Tatum's shoulder than a lot of people care to admit in Boston. And if you watch that Orlando series, that was very, very evident. And I also think the book was out there. I think Orlando did a great job. Hey, defend the 3-point line with your life and don't switch as much. And guess what happened? Like, they really struggled shooting, and then you saw them struggle swinging the Knicks. And I just think, to me, I'm a believer in Cleveland OKC. Maybe it's foolish, but I think what they did during the regular season, what I've seen, the injuries things are obviously scary for Cleveland, but they're so good.
That's what I was going to say is the Pacers, I think. I'm changing my tune completely. And, it's because of the injuries in Cleveland. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to, play both sides of the fence, but the Pacers surprised me. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, though I do not think he's the player that Jalen Brunson or Trae Young is, but in terms of not shying away from the moment, he's right there. I mean, you can't take that away from him. If this game is close, I don't think Donovan Mitchell is head and shoulders way above Tyrese Halliburton in terms of who you might want to have with the ball in their hands on the final shot. I don't really know who to go with. I would lean Pacers only because dude, the Celtics they can't miss the most 3-point shots in NBA postseason history.
But I mean,
again.
I think you could say the same thing about the Cavs. I mean, they were 8 for 35 or whatever at one point, and I don't know what they ended the game, but it was they were like at one point the Pacers
15 of 60.
But not only like the difference in that is not only was Cleveland missing, like Indiana was hitting at a 54% clip from 3. Like that's a discrepancy where you expect it to be even, maybe slightly in one team or the other's favor. They both shoot the ball well, but there's no way it's going to be that big where it's like the difference is 40 points.
That's fair. I think we're just in for a great second round.
Yeah, I don't think any of these series are
gentlemen sweeps.
Yeah, I mean, we're going 6. I think we're going 6 or 7 games in all of them. And that includes the next one, which we'll talk about after the break. We haven't even gotten to the most exciting one of all. We got Steph Curry versus Anthony Edwards coming up tonight in game 1. Must-watch television every time. Roscoe's excited. We'll be right back with you after the break. Only game 1 of the second round has not started, and it is Steph Curry versus Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards is really the Grim Reaper of the league right now. He's knocked out KD. He's gone head to head. He's knocked out Luka. He's knocked out LeBron. He's knocked out Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. And the one name left on his checklist is Draymond Green and Steph Curry. And obviously this series, you remember the Rudy Gobert headlock. You remember the Jimmy Butler and how he went out in Minnesota. This is absolute cinema. And this is why I said the second round just keeps getting better. And I think this is going to be the best series yet. But I'll say it even before I give you a chance to talk. There's no way the Timberwolves lose this. Ant-Man is going to the NBA Finals. He is going to the NBA. This is his time. I don't know if he's going to win it, but he is going to the NBA Finals. I'm all in on Ant. He got close last year. We kind of thought he was going to get there last year. I think they figure out a way now that my Clippers have been eliminated in the first round.
I hope so. I want to see it. I mean, I love Anthony Edwards. We're going to see fireworks tonight. Whether it's, Rudy Gobert and Draymond going at it, Ant and Draymond going at it. I mean, there's just so many fiery personalities. Jimmy Butler. Yeah. I mean, Anthony Edwards is straight up fighting like the Hades dog and Hercules with the 3 heads, and Jimmy Butler and Steph. Obviously, Steph's the nice guy, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Anthony Edwards and Draymond Green get into. I mean, obviously I'm biased, whether it's Georgia, whether it's just Anthony Edwards is fun, whether everybody hates Draymond Green, and rightfully so. The guy is just, a menace. If the NBA only had 3 fouls, this guy would have been out of the league already.
See, I love Draymond because I just think it's gotten so ridiculous to a point of absurdity that is hilarious. But I got to ask you, I want to leave you with this.
Go ahead.
Over under 1.5 technicals plus flagrants tonight. Draymond
just
Green.
One game. I thought you meant the whole series. I was
tonight.
Just under.
Because he's figured out the ultimate key in the NBA, which is you can't get 2 flagrants or you get ejected. You can't get 2 technicals or you get ejected, but you can get 1 flagrant and 1 technical and stay in the game. And we've seen him do that now. And it's clearly just like who Draymond Green is. And I fully expect, like, if Draymond Green doesn't get a technical today, I will be shocked. Like 0.5, there's no way I am not taking the over. He will get a technical or a flagrant in this game. You can put your bottom dollar on it. He gets one every single game, and he does it on purpose. You can't tell me it's not on purpose. It's not like out of emotion. Like he is doing this on purpose for whatever reason.
Calculated.
That wraps up our show. I don't got to do anything, but we will be back with you tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining us.